Before we begin, I want to disclose that I am acquainted with a number of people that worked on this game. However, my opinions are still my own. I was not provided with an advance or review copy, and this video is not sponsored. With that out of the way, let's get started. Like many Persona fans, my Persona fandom started with the original Persona 3. In an era where RPGs were mostly fantasy games scored by orchestral soundtracks, here was Atlus with a contemporary setting, dark themes, and an upbeat OST. It was weird, it was intriguing, and it was the beginning of a lifelong infatuation. Despite my love for 3, the first of the modern Personas had a lot of issues that held the title back, issues that I have historically described as player hostile. So the reveal of Persona 3 Reload had me equally surprised and excited. Here was a chance for Atlus to make right by a milestone game, to correct the things that needed correcting and enhance the things that were already excellent. So how did they fare? Let's see. But first, please subscribe, click the bell, and stay tuned for more content at the end, including links to my other Megami Tensei, Sega, and RPG content. Alright, let's lock and load. This review is based on a physical retail release for the PlayStation 5. I'm sure you've heard this story synopsis before. A high school-aged, mostly silent protagonist acquires the ability to summon elemental familiars and uses these newfound powers to lead a double life. Perfectly normal, unassuming young adult by day, armed and dangerous demon-smiting vigilante by night. Persona 3 sees the player-named protagonist moving to the fictional coastal hub of Iwatodai, where he befriends a number of people. Together with a select few, he embarks on a quest to uncover the mysteries of the Dark Hour. As far as Persona goes, the narrative here is regularly foreboding, with a darker undercurrent permeating the entirety of Persona 3 and Reload by extension. There's a lot more of that grim Shin Megami Tensei main series energy interlaced throughout the story in a way that successive games in the series do not have. As a fan of Persona and Megami Tensei proper, I enjoy this bleakness. Its direct contrast to the vibrant personality of the daytime segments makes the duality of the storyline all the more compelling. There is one key disappointment, at least for now. The current absence of the answer as an epilogue has the story feeling incomplete for anyone in the know. Still, even 18 years after the fact, the tale of the Seas gang remains a fascinating and gripping tale worth pursuing. Let's jump into audio next. I want to save the visual comparisons for a little later. Persona music has always been a straight-up bop, and the OST of Persona 3 was disc 1 in the soundtrack of my adolescence. Sometimes I feel like the Persona series is just an album of bangers, and there's a bonus RPG included for fun. Reload has re-recorded all the original songs, and they are subtly different, but the common through line is that the music is still great. You got that jump around, jump around, jump around now. And here's the new version. Of course there's I Never Felt Like da 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 da.
I never felt like da 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 da. I never felt like da 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 da.
And the battle music, you already know about that. Baby, 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 baby. I love that part where it goes shadows of mass destruction. Oh yeah!
Shadows of mass destruction.
Ooh, yeah. Da 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 da. Baby, baby. Da 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 da.
We're just going through the greatest hits now. The new ambush theme is tight. Got me wanting to disturb the peace, my guy.
Disturbing the peace. Look into my eyes. Now tell me the things you were laughing about behind my back.
And I be vibing to that night theme, talking about another wonder in the night. Let me paint the view.
Another wonder in the night. Let me paint the view. Colored down with my light. For every moment.
Of course, the voice acting is excellent in both English and Japanese. The characters have been recast, everything has been re-recorded, and there's significantly more voice acting this time around. Here's a comparison of the original English, portable Japanese, new English, and new Japanese voice acting.
Your room's on the second floor at the end of the hallway. Your things should already be there.
I'll show you the way. Follow me.
荷物も届いてるはずだ。すぐに休むといい。
あ、じゃあ案内するんでついてきてください。
It's getting late. You'll find your room at the end of the hall on the second floor. Your things should already be there. Why don't you get some rest?
Oh, I'll show you the way. Follow me.
今日はもう遅い。部屋は2階の一番奥に用意してある。荷物も届いているはずだ。すぐに休むといい。
あ、じゃあ案内するんでついてきてください。
Per my series tradition, I played through Reload in English, and I had a great time. Both localizations are equally viable and satisfying. Before we start this next audio bullet point, please be aware that this section contains a significant spoiler for Persona 5. If you'd like to avoid this spoiler, skip to the timestamp on screen and also in the video description. I'll give you guys a moment to work on that. In the meantime, once again, please remember to subscribe and click the bell to stay updated on all my content. I've got a bunch of Atlus, Sega, and general RPG videos already in the vault for your viewing pleasure, so please check those out once you're done here. Okay, are we ready? I'm gonna start talking about this Persona 5 spoiler now, so if you're still here, that's on you. One of the biggest questions I had when starting Reload was about Igor's voice actor in both English and Japanese, given the long narrative-centric workaround that Atlus did for Persona 5. For English, Reload sees Kirk Thornton reprising his role from the end of 5. Meanwhile, Igor in Japanese is voiced by Bin Shimada, the voice behind Dragon Ball's Broly and One Piece's Wapol. Both do admirably in my opinion, but why not judge for yourself compared to the originals?
Welcome to the Velvet Room, my dear young man. My name is Igor. I am delighted to make your acquaintance. This is Elizabeth. She's a resident here, like myself.
Pleased to meet you.
Welcome to the Velvet Room. My name is Igor. I am delighted to make your acquaintance. This is Elizabeth. She's a resident here, like myself.
Pleased to meet you.
ようこそベルベットルームへ。私の名はイゴール。お初にお目にかかります。こちらはエリザベス。同じくここの住人だ。
エリザベスでございます。お見知りおきを。
ようこそ我がベルベットルームへ。私の名はイゴール。お初にお目にかかります。こちらはエリザベス。同じくここの住人だ。
エリザベスでございます。お見知りおきを。
Personally, I like both of the new voices well enough, though I'd imagine the new performances will receive a broad spectrum of impressions. Okay, the spoilers are over. Let's proceed with a review. Next up is the visuals, finally. We're going to be comparing Persona 3 Reload on PlayStation 5 to Persona 3 FES on PlayStation 2 and Persona 3 Portable on PlayStation 4, as well as taking a fun gander at Persona 3 Reload versus Persona 5 Royal. First up is FES on PlayStation 2. This footage was captured on an actual PS2 connected via component cables to an analog to digital signal converter that outputs via HDMI to my Elgato capture card. It's definitely an older game, but I still think it looks good. There are way worse looking PS2 games by any standard of measurement. Here's Portable on PS4. I'm actually playing on PS5 via backwards compatibility. In a lot of ways, Portable was a worse visual experience than the PS2 versions of 3, but it still looks pretty decent. The polish on this PS4 version is both a blessing and a curse, as it highlights the good and bad visual aspects equally. Now here's Reload on PS5. Reload runs at a native 4K 60 with almost zero problems. Personally, I only noticed a few frame drops on the title screen at the very beginning of the game, and that was it. Reload also implements ray tracing, and the results are fabulous in their subtle, if limited, implementations. Shadow work, reflections, ambient occlusion, global, direct, and indirect illumination. The visual details tie Reload together like a lovely bow on an immaculate parcel. I think I'm just impressed by reflections, because I spent a fair amount of time just looking at reflections in the windows, on different textures of mirrors, and on tile flooring. It looks awesome. Here's a split screen of Reload versus Royal. Royal looks great, but something that stands out to me is the line work in Reload. It's so clean and makes for a remarkably smoother aesthetic in my opinion. Both games look great, but all those little touches with ray tracing make Reload look notably better, in my opinion. There are so many things that have changed in Reload, even insignificant stuff is different. A ton of segments in the PS2 version that were either in-engine or 2D animated cutscenes are either playable or in-engine cutscenes in Reload. It's a far cry from the original, and a significant departure from Portable, but I do have one particular personal dissatisfaction with Reload. The original Persona 3 had a very distinctly gloomy stylization. It walked the tightrope between the oppressive Megami Tensei of days gone by and the vibrant Persona imagery yet to come. Persona 3 Reload, for the most part, does away with the bleaker art direction and leans into the luminous palette of its title series. In doing so, I personally feel a large part of the original title's visual identity is weakened. Take a look at the original here, how dark it is, the disquieting atmosphere almost trickling from the very walls themselves. The original is just dripping with personality. Don't get me wrong, Reload is a lovely looking game, but I personally prefer the graphical dichotomy found on PlayStation 2. Still, despite my small qualms, I think this remake is a treat for the eyes, and there are deliberate graphical implementations that elevate Reload even further. At last, let's discuss the gameplay. Many of Persona 3's foundational mechanics have been modernized. Combat is still turn-based, but has been brought more in line with that of Persona 5. Menus are smoother, the interface is more stylish, and the pace of battles has been improved greatly. The action is flashier, and the camera work is more dynamic. Here's what combat looked like on PS2 and PSP. And here's combat in Reload. Further, acquired skills and leveling have been rebalanced for more even progression. As an example, Orpheus starts the game with Agi instead of learning Agi upon level up, and its original starting move Bash is now its level 3 attack. These tweaks are small, but they're effective in keeping the experience consistent. Exploration is also better. There are more interactive elements to experience in this higher definition format, even if some of those interactions are irrelevant, and it's great seeing all of these places and things in greater detail now. Tartarus is still randomly generated, so there are plenty of repeating structures and designs, but Atlus has done its best to add more variety and distinction to the Super Dungeon. As far as social elements, these are still more in line with the original Persona 3. Your only social stats are academics, charm, and courage, and you don't build social links with male party members just like in the original game. However, all party members, including the male characters, have shared activities back at the dorm house, and there's a new feature called Link Episodes to help you connect with your teammates. Social stat progression has seen some minor tweaks just like battle progression, and these too level out the game considerably. There are also tons of quality of life improvements. First and foremost, characters no longer get Tartarus sick or fatigued. This was an interesting mechanic in the original versions of 3, but I found they were ultimately more limiting than inspired, so I'm glad Reload has done away with these condition stats. It just makes the entire game way more approachable and fun. Second is the Rewind feature. Rewind allows you to turn the clock back to the most recent free roaming period in case you wanted to undo or redo anything. I didn't really use this feature too much myself, but it's a nice addition for anyone who really wants to make sure they didn't miss or screw up any important content. Some other changes, big and small, include you can save pretty much anywhere now instead of only in the dorm logbook, you can dash to move faster, the wait battle command has been replaced with guard, an actual functional move, shuffle time occurs more frequently, and you can now pick the specific card you want outright instead of the cards being titularly shuffled together. Persona 5's Baton Pass returns in Reload, this time called Shift. The features are functionally identical at their cores. And party members now have ultimate attacks called Theurgies. These signature moves operate a bit like limit breaks from Final Fantasy, although building Theurgies is broadly more conditional. There are several more tweaks that would take a while to cover, and it's clear that significant amounts of work have gone into making a more intuitive, fluid, and satisfying player experience. This is a proper remake with all the bells and whistles. Reload is so locked in on the finer details that Atlus even changed the questions in the classroom segments to freshen up the original content for returning players. Yet simultaneously, the game retains many of the quirky tidbits that define Persona 3. The result is a game that is both refreshed for recurrent players and excellent as a new experience. It's still not the best game in the series, and there are a few exclusions that are confusing and maybe even a bit frustrating. However, Reload still hits the mark with its flashy combat, fantastic soundtrack, and shiny new coat of paint. As a Persona 3 veteran, I'm grateful for the chance to run through this game again with modern sensibilities. And of course, there's a part of me that's a bit envious of anyone using Reload to play Persona 3 for the first time. My only advice? Savor the experience. you'll never be able to play it for the first time ever again. Persona 3 Reload on PlayStation 5 earns a 10 out of 10. 見てくれてありがとうございます。こちらのチャンネル購読お願いします。皆さん、ごきげんよう。さようなら。